Hey all, welcome to Geek Freaks. I am Frank, and today I'm joined by the wonderful Thomas. How you doing, Tom?
Oh, great, man. Yeah, thanks for inviting me. This is rare that I get to be on this show these days.
Yeah, I know you've been super busy lately, and we'll discuss that in the future, but luckily you guys can, of course, hear him on Challenge Accepted as we're going through John Williams month right now. But
John Williams month is incredible, man. I'm having so much fun with that and learning more about John Williams, too, who is a legend, obviously, in the film, but like he's a character. He's like an A-lister in his own right, just creating the music, which I didn't even realize. I think it's just been such a fun month to start off this year, you know?
We had a guest over there, Bo, from one of the recent episodes, and we'll talk about it at the end, but he said that John Williams is the sound of cinema, and that line has stuck with me so well. That was a great job, Bo, from Collateral Cinema. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, he nailed it on that one.
Did. All right, so we're going to start this episode off with one of our verses, and so I'm asking you, who would win in a fight, Drax versus Chewbacca?
Yeah, do you have an answer for this? I'm curious. Like, I think I already know.
They're pretty close. I think Drax has got some, like Drax I think is probably a heavy hitter close to hand to hand, but we have that little like shooter that Chewbacca has.
Yeah, the crossbow blaster. Yeah. I forgot what the name is, but it's such a cool weapon. And it's like, of course, only Chewbacca could have something like that in Star Wars, you know, but you put on whatever late night show so you can fall asleep. And Christina's been watching Schitt's Creek, but after she falls asleep, a classic, right? I've been putting on Guardians of the Galaxy. So I'm kind of back, and God, Drax is like, even from the jump, is such an iconic, crazy, amazing character thrown in the Marvel universe. Obviously, I love Chewbacca, and you can never like root against Star Wars things for me. But I gotta get in a fight. I gotta give it to Drax because he's ripping apart droids. He's like jumping on people, like just blasting people across the room. I just think he's overall stronger, and I think he could probably take a few shots at the crossbow if Chewie doesn't land, or even lands him.
Could. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think?
Because Drax, I think Drax in the comic books it's easy, but the MCU Drax is weaker than the one in the comic books. And so it's a little bit tougher there. I would say the crossbow is helpful, but if Drax can get close, he finishes him off. So I got to give it to Drax as well. We're playing a lot of Marvel Rivals, and we know that melee bastards like Iron Fist can get up to even Iron Man. So you can't stop a melee person.
I seriously, all these people now like teching Spider-Man or playing Black Panther, they're like untouchable now. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, unfortunately, maybe I got to give it to Drax, but like, if Chewie had some extra help, I'm trying to think who he could have on his team that's not OP. Like Chewie and Han, I think Drax is going down.
Yeah. But then if you're going to do that, you're like, well, is Gamora going to be there? You know,
right.
Or Mantis? It gets to be pretty cool. Yeah, that's actually the next question, right? Would it be the Guardians of the Galaxy versus, the core Star Wars team? And I would say Guardians then in that case, because then they start to get a little overpowered.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. It's cool. But it would be funny because Star-Lord would be like, oh my God, Han Solo. Like he'd probably fan out before the fight, you know? He'd probably be stoked.
Oh God, that's another one that's getting a little too strong in Rivals. Guys, stop playing people that I don't like. Everybody go play something.
Right.
Let's go ahead and, before we go too far, let's give an update on Patreon. So one of the new things we're going to be starting with Patreon is I say this in this particular episode, we didn't do it, but we're now recording Saturday mornings. So that gives us a little extra time. We release the audio episode on Tuesday, and we release the video episodes on Thursday. What we're going to do for Patreon, you're getting both episodes on Saturday evening. So it'll give me that day to edit it. So if you're a Patreon, you'll get them completely early like that, and you go ahead and listen to it, and you'll get the cutting edge news as soon as it's ready. So join us over on Patreon, guys. Even $1 unlocks pretty much everything. And we'll do a few other things to revamp things because I know we wanted to kind of bring back the giveaway in a way. I know Patreon's really a punk when it comes to giveaways. I can't type that word in there without it doing like a little like, excuse me, giveaways are not allowed. And it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah. right, exactly.
So we'll figure something out.
That's awesome. But I mean, getting the news and those episodes that fast, people, I gotta tell you, that is incredible and so fast when it comes to that kind of work. Because let me tell you, just watching what Frank does behind the scenes, it takes a while. Like that is not easy to do that quick. So it's well worth the $1, I'd say.
They might not be as well edited as the normal episode. So keep that in mind. I'm going to throw that out there before we get too deep.
Dude, it's still quality. Still better than a lot of people can do. That's for sure.
let's go ahead and get into the news. Multiversus. Have you had a chance to play the video game Multiversus?
Yeah, I played it right when it came out, and I was so stoked because I was a Super Smash Brothers Melee player. Like, I've actually competed in tournaments and stuff. I was super into it. And then, you know, when Brawl came out, you don't have L canceling, you don't have wave dashing. And then when Multiversus was like, we're putting all that stuff that you love from the old Melee game in this one, I was like, this is gonna be dope. But it didn't, for me, when I first started playing, like, it didn't have a lot of people that jumped on it. And it wasn't as smooth. Like, I don't know if it was like an internet connection issue, but it would like kind of lag, or the timing always kind of felt off. So we kind of fell off of it, but I loved like the original concept of it.
Yeah, and it had a bit of a cult following, but unfortunately now they're going to be shutting it down in May, and you could still play. They said, oh, you can still play. It'll just be basically practice mode, because basically they want you to still have access to all the skins or whatever you bought, but it's all going to be practice mode. And they had a rocky road. They shut it down for a bit. They brought it back last year in May, but now it's just going to be shut down. What are your thoughts as somebody who plays live service games? We're talking about Rivals and stuff like that. The limited lifespan of these games. What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, that sucks. It really does. You know, you want to be able to play these games forever. And, you know, yeah, that's the other catch-22 of live service games, right? It's like, you hate microtransactions, but they need them now to fund the game and keep it going. Like, I know everybody hates Avengers, but like, that game, since the Suicide Squad came out and since Gotham Knights came out, is all of a sudden got this resurgence of people like, that game was actually pretty good. Well, thank you. Where were you 2-3 years ago when I was playing nonstop, you know, and I loved it. But if they could have even just released like a little bit of content for, you know, at least once a year, I would still be playing that game nonstop. And so there's that downside to it too, where like you need that money to keep the game funded so that they keep improving it and people keep playing it. But I hate that concept. I think it sucks. But, you know, we got Marvel Rivals now, and I'm having a shit ton of fun with that. I'm just going to try not to spend too much money. You know?
That's tough to do because you got some really amazing skins over there. Right. Something like Multiversus, it does stink of that like live service era that every game was coming out as live service. And like Concord collapsed immediately. This one's now done. I think we're getting past that live service era. There's still going to be some of them, but I think fewer is better. If it doesn't go viral, it's not going to be worth anybody's time. Do you usually play live service games, or are you more of a single player kind of fan?
I think I like both. I mean, truthfully, like one of my favorite games that came out in the last couple of years was Spider-Man 2. That was so fun. I like ate that up. Even the story mode for the Suicide Squad, I really dug that. I was playing Black Myth Wukong. So it's like, I like all of those games, but you're right. Like I'm kind of happy to see live service go away, because I'd rather just pay for the game, know I'm going to have it, know that it's as well done as it could possibly be before they put it out. And then I just get to enjoy all of it. Like, yes, I kind of that's one downside, I think, to Spider-Man 2 is I would have liked more DLC for it. But at least I know that they put everything into it. They're like, this is as perfect as I could possibly make it at launch. And I don't know. I think I'm happy for that trend to go away. But I think Marvel Rivals is a perfect example of like everything done right in a live service game. Like they're doing updates all the time. They're adding like new features. They're adding new games, like new skins. It's going to be interesting to see how that game evolves. So it's like, I generally don't like live service games, but I really like how they're doing that one.
Yeah, it does remind me of Overwatch, where like the first game of Overwatch was a lot more stable. You actually bought the game itself for like $30, whatever. And then the game was just stable. And there was a battle pass added later on, but it wasn't the price. Overwatch 2 comes out, all battle pass, all live service focused, promised PvE, and then they never delivered. And then when Rivals came out, people were eager to jump on something new. So I do think that it makes for a more competitive market in lieu of what they thought was going to be the new moneymaker for the video game industry, which was this like kind of battle pass and DLCs. Do you think increasing the price on regular games, like we've talked about it last week, GTA 6, they're pitching might be $100 for the base game. Do you find that feasible? Yeah.
No, $100. That seems crazy to me.
Base game. Yeah. Right now it's $70 for a lot of games. We got Civilization 7 coming out this month. It's gonna be $70 to buy base.
Crap. I mean, that's honestly what stopped me from getting Star Wars Outlaws. Like, I'm a massive Star Wars fan. Love everything. We just had this whole conversation, right, about Chewbacca and stuff. but I didn't want to buy into it because they had that $100 whatever, like the super model or whatever it was called. I don't know, but you got like 2 skins with it, and like maybe like one other thing. That's
for a
not
single
worth
player
it.
game where it's just you seeing the skin, so it takes away a lot of the hype.
Yeah. Like it just doesn't make a ton of sense for me. That seems so over the top. But these games keep getting more and more expensive to make. There's a ton of time that goes into it. You know, I think some of these games in a lot of ways are harder than movies to make, especially some of the movies we get these days. But it's tough. I don't want to pay that much. I think that's over the top. But also, like, I wouldn't, like, if it was Marvel Rivals, knowing that we would get 2 or 3 seasons of something, I would have paid, a lot more, I guess, in the beginning to play it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that does.
I don't know.
But then when we're talking about those big fat first person games, I think if it comes with the prestigious backing, like GTA 6, even if for some reason, which who knows, but it's Rockstar, they're pretty good about it. Even if it came out with like all kinds of bugs and was unplayable, I know that they're not going to abandon it. It's their flagship. And so $100 for a game I know will still be playable in 10 years and be played in 10 years. Okay, I can see that. But you're saying with like that Star Wars Outlaw games, who knew if it was going to be successful? It kind of wasn't, kind of was. And for that, I would like, I have to let that price die off. But we've heard developers talk in the past about how when you guys do that, you are telling the company, we don't want a sequel. And it's like, I don't know how to entice us to invest in a brand new IP at that price point then. It's a tough one.
It is a tough one. I think your example of Grand Theft Auto and Rockstar is perfect, because that game has stood the test of time, or at least GTA 5 has. Like, I still get videos on my feed about GTA 5 and like them changing the gravity or the momentum or like crazy mods. It's like there's so much you could do with that game. Yeah, it's tricky. I think they're in a tough position, just like the movie industry in a lot of ways too. It's like, how do you capture people's attention, bring them to the movie theater? Just like, how do you get them to buy a $70 game? And, I think it's going to be personal preference, but also it's about the studios that have made stuff that you really know are quality and that you're going to dig.
Yeah. I guess, the movie side of it, whether or not it's quality, but every Marvel movie we go see just for the sake that it's an MCU and it's continuing the story. So I guess there is that, like, maybe we're willing to invest more when we know that the company generally doesn't let us down, but you're going to be under a fine tooth comb. Then you're going to be under a magnifying glass. If you guys mess up, we're going to catch every single bug you guys put into that. So just like when the CGI doesn't look good on Ant-Man, oh boy, do we amplify the hell out of that. If that was any other movie that wasn't in Marvel, it would have gone under the weather. Like, okay, yeah, it was bad. It's not going to ruin the company. Ant-Man to this day is still being used as an example of bad CGI. So that's what you get.
yeah, definitely. I know. Yeah, it's interesting because we know directors too, right? Like now directors are the big draw. Like, man, Christopher Nolan's doing that.
For real.
Or James Gunn's doing that, you're like, whoa, I'm super excited about it. I think it's kind of the same with video game studios. It's like Rockstar, everybody, whether you like Ubisoft or not, it's like, hey, Ubisoft's coming out with the new Assassin's Creed. Just because of that, you're at least curious. It's going to catch some people who are going to buy it, whether they're like super tied into the video game industry or not, just because they know the brand name of Ubisoft and they know Assassin's Creed. So, to your point, again, you're right. They're going to also scrutinize the hell out of it if it falls short. So it's an interesting time on both those sides. It's like, I don't know, as a fan, but also as someone who expects quality. I don't know. I feel weird about it. It's just an interesting thing.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll bring up on my side of this is when you brought up the movie thing, it really kind of opened up another idea for me. With the movies, we have stages. We have the theaters. We have first day premiere. But then we have theaters, matinee, streaming at home, buy it at home. And I think with video games, if we had more of a built-in system like that, like when it's going to come out, fine, $100 for the first month. But after that, $70. And then like I know we have sales and it'll gradually go down. But if it was more, set in stone, I would be way more. Back in the day, God, this is how old I am, guys. On the Xbox 360 and stuff like that, there used to be the greatest hits, like a PS2 used to have the greatest hits with the bread, $20 every time, but you knew it was something that stood the test of time and they were able to get an extra set of $20 out of that. And man, when those went on sale or whenever you had an extra $20, you're like, I know it's going to be a banger because it made it to the greatest hits. We don't have that anymore. And maybe that's something that the video game company industry should look at is we need the greatest hits again.
Yeah, definitely. Isn't that kind of like one of the issues? I'm not an Xbox player. I don't have an Xbox, but it's like with their battle pass or whatever it's called, Game Pass. Yeah. Isn't that like an issue? Because you can kind of get newer games not too far down the road in their Game Pass?
You can get new games on release. And frankly, that's how we always, now every Xbox game, I have the Xbox Series X. I have maybe 2 games physical. Everything else, the new Call of Duty came. I was like, let me get the Game Pass for $10, $20, whatever. Play the $70 game and then be done with it before the next month comes around. And it's like $20 for the new game. That's fine. But that's
crazy though.
Such a gamble. They're doing the gym membership thing where it's like, we hope to God you guys don't remember about canceling this, is what they're hoping for.
Yeah.
It's tough.
But think of it like, to me, that model was when, like during COVID, Disney was doing that, and Max was like, movies were coming out in the theater and they were dropping on Disney Plus and Max the same day. It's kind of like that for games. It's like, why would you do that? I'm sure I don't know. Obviously I don't know the sales numbers and everything behind Xbox, but to me, that also seems pretty crazy. It seems like they lose a bunch of money in some ways. They
released a bunch of numbers saying like, look how profitable this Call of Duty was because of Game Pass and stuff like that. Cause they had to wait for the second month of Game Pass to tick for it to make sense. But it was like, yeah, but that's a gamble and that's Call of Duty. Like if it wasn't for a game that actually boosted your guys' subscription number so much, that would not work.
It is interesting, man. This is, I feel like we've taken this down a different path, but like now I'm just curious on like how Xbox is making money selling games. Like I'm going to be researching that after this.
We're going to be, we bring it up a few times. It's interesting to see where they're going with this. Let's move into some Marvel stuff. Chris Evans, a former Captain America, says he's not returning for Avengers Doomsday. I feel like he's not. I think he's coming back for Secret Wars, but not Doomsday. What are your thoughts on that one?
He's coming back. To your point, like he's coming back. Yeah, I don't know if it's Doomsday. I don't know if it's Secret Wars, but that dude is definitely in one of the movies. If he's going to say, I'm retired and show up in Deadpool and Wolverine, like the dude is 100% going to show up in one of these movies. I can't trust any of these guys anymore. Like nor do I believe any of them. But they're like, we're not going to be in that movie. I'm like, yeah, right, dude. I know you're showing up, motherfucker. Like you're going up somewhere. Yeah. So I just don't believe it. And even if he's not in Doomsday, to your point, he's in Secret Wars.
Secret Wars for sure. Cause we have we literally are smashing all the action figures together for that one. And so I actually think not only will he be back, he'll be back as Human Torch as well. And we're gonna have that moment, that Spider-Man scene where they're just like, "Hey, look at you! You look like me," and stuff like that. Yeah. It's just gonna have to happen. I mean, that's gonna be so. But Doomsday, I can see him coming back as old man Steve Rogers and giving advice. They did that in the comic books for a while. He kind of replaced Nick Fury for a bit there. I think that could happen.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And he came back and Cap. Sam Wilson's Cap thought he was gone, so he took on the costume. And then, old man Cap came back, and there's this like awesome moment of them getting to chat and then just be like, Sam, I always knew you could do it. Like, I always knew you were meant to take the shield, which is funny when you read some of the comments online about what we're getting in real life. Yeah. But that, that happened in the comics like 10 years ago. So for sure, I do want to see him as old man Cap coming back, but he's in one of these movies. Like, there's no way. And I tweeted something or threaded something a while back where if you look at all of Chris Evans' box office numbers from some of his latest movies, he had that one with Ana de Armas. He had all these other like random movies. Red One,
Note, that Christmas movie.
Red One, yeah. They all bombed. So like if I was him, and as an actor, you have to try to spread your wings. You have to try new things. But he's kind of playing Cap adjacent characters, So I'm like, you're not doing anything new. Why wouldn't you just go back to a character that everybody loves you for, that you're amazing at, and people are going to just flip out when they see you? To me, it's a no-brainer. Like, he's bullshitting when he says he's not coming back. He's coming back in some movie.
And some of his best movies, I think, were filmed while he was still playing Captain America. We had
The Knives Out.
Quantum of Solace. Knives Out, thank you. We had Knives Out, which he was fantastic in that. And then he was in the Gray One or whatever, but he was in other things where it was like these side projects that he was doing while he was still bringing in the checks from Marvel. And I'm sure he's still getting them checks from residuals. Of course, he is Captain America. But pop in here and there and like have some fun with it with an ulterior role. Maybe Harrison Ford, guys, spoiler alert, will not be president after the events of the next Captain America movie. Can we get a new president with Steve Rogers? Like, how cool would that?
Ooh, oh man, that would be sick. That would be great. Yes, he could keep playing. I know it's like, again, there's a lot of actors who don't want to be typecasted or be this one character forever. But Harrison Ford is a perfect example. He's either Han Solo or Indiana Jones to me. Like, that's just, he's done a bunch of other things. He's been presidents in other movies. He's been all kinds of different, roles, but he'll always kind of be that thing. And I don't think he's had a bad life by any means or a bad career.
No.
I'm sure he's, just fine with all of his paychecks.
Yeah, I think Shrinking's the most out of the box he's ever been. Because like that one, he actually was like embracing comedy. Like Air Force One, he's really just playing Indiana Jones on a plane. Like, that's all he is.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, I know he's coming back. It's like the Andrew Garfield thing for me now. Like all of these guys at some point, I can't trust it. I know they're going to have these conversations, but I'm also not even mad about it. Like even if you want to say you're not in it, I don't even care because I know you are at this point, there's no way he's not.
Since you brought up Garfield, I got to throw this out there. On Challenge Accepted, you have to challenge me to it or I'll challenge you to it. I have never seen him as Spider-Man in his Spider-Man movies. So.
Wow. Okay. That's crazy. So did that part in No Way Home where he opens the portal and he comes through, did that hit as hard or were you just like, oh, that's cool?
Because I've never seen him before as Spider-Man. So I never watched Amazing Spider-Man 1 or 2 because I was one of those like douchebag bros back in the day, like bring back Tobey Maguire. I'm boycotting him or whatever. Now I wouldn't give a crap. But back then I was really that way. So I never watched him. And now I'm like, I really want to see him. Like when he caught MJ, I knew that it was important, why it was important, but I didn't have the feels as everybody around me.
Oh my God. That part, man, still, I'm shooketh watching that. That is so good. Yeah. But I wasn't a fan. I was one of those people that wasn't a fan of him as Peter Parker, but I was a fan of his Spider-Man. His Spider-Man is like awesome, but I didn't like, we're going to talk about your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, but you want to talk about a confident Peter Parker? Yeah, you're probably going to be irritated by that. Like I was maybe back in the day. I've softened up to it because I've watched them a few times now, but when I first watched it, I was like, that's not Peter Parker. This guy's way too cool. So he was the coolest, I think, Peter Parker.
Yeah, which is hard to embrace because like the Tobey Maguire one nailed it, I think, is like the just down on his luck sucker that, luckily got some powers to help him out. But
only thing he looked like 35 in high school. Like
hey. It caught up quick on him. All right, next up, we have so Gavin Newsom, governor of California, creates LA Rises, which is where he's tapping some celebrities from Hollywood to build LA for a better future after the fires. But we also have in concurrent, but not with the Newsom, is Stay in LA campaign started up by 1,700 signed petitions from people who work in Hollywood, people who actors and stuff like that. It's big, a lot of big names in this one. They're both trying to find a way to build Hollywood for the future. One wants to Stay in LA wants to give more tax credits and different perks to get people to film back in LA more often, which they've already raised it up to $750 million.
Wow.
$1,000. One of those, 1,000. I'm pretty sure 1,000 tax credit to film per year. And the LA Rise is all about creating, sustainable energy and stuff like that. So what I'm trying to figure out is how would you set up LA to continue being the filming hub of the world? And what little things would you put in place? For me, I think it's all about the community. I think when you go down to Los Angeles and you talk to some of these people that are down there, they're all within earshot of each other. So there is a lot of collective discussions about projects that are coming up. And when one project doesn't make it over here, it could still get bounced over there and you're literally just down the street. That community is very hard to replicate when you have people in Atlanta and Toronto and stuff like that too. Mm-hmm. That's one of the big benefits to Hollywood. Like you're always in the business, kind of in that, like not necessarily Hollywood, but like that area,
You're absolutely right. I got to think about how they can actually improve it. But in terms of like collaboration, right? It's like when you used to work at an office or whatever, like the water cooler talk, if they're all separated now, right? That water cooler talk and the opportunity for collaboration and for, intertwining projects, or like all of a sudden this actor is getting finished here, or he's not going to be in this movie. You have them now freed up to do this thing. It's going to be tricky if that gets taken out of Hollywood. I don't care like which side of the aisle you're on politically, but like everybody knows, I think worldwide, the power of Hollywood. Whether you think it's, woke or you think it's like what we need to tell stories, whatever, there is this power that draws people to movies and TV shows that just lets us escape. And now with Netflix and everything, there's so much entertainment and joy and fun that's created there. It's going to be tricky, to your point, right? Like we know that Atlanta now, for a lot of the Marvel movies that are filmed there, it's called the Hollywood of the South. And, I know they get a ton of tax credits. It's probably a lot cheaper in a lot of ways. I'm trying to think of what can make you stay in LA other than tax credits. it's, yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know how else you incentivize it. I'm not a politician. I'm not like a financial person, but I think that Hollywood still has this appeal, or at least LA still has this appeal. It it is this land of like dreams. I lived there for a couple of years, and there's this opportunity. There's this feeling there where you're like, dang, if I can make it here. It's not exactly like New York. New York is very much like if you make it here, you can make it anywhere. But LA is like, once I'm in, you feel like you're in exclusive company. You're like, dang, I really made it. And so, yeah, I'm not sure what's going to keep people there, but I think it's important that they figure out a way to keep it there. Just again, to have a hub for collaboration, for opportunities that you might miss. And yeah, I don't know. It's a really special place, even if it's not as glamorous as you see on TV. But there's a charm about LA that I almost can't put into words.
There's a history too that I think is not appreciated enough. But when you go to the lots, I always like to see the I can't remember. I think it's Universal, it might be Paramount, where the back lot has like the same New York street that you've seen in so many movies, Godfather to Star Trek to everything. So that's always fun to see. There's a history there that I think is appreciated. As for the tax cut, they are now, with the new tax cut Gavin Newsom just put in place, it's right below Georgia. So now it's caught up to Atlanta's deal and stuff like that. So there's some really big hype there. One of the other things I think that should be pushed is, yeah, actors are fun and all, and you have the great weather, like you can film year round in LA, but the set is 95% crew. So I think having a better educational program for the trades within the Hollywood industry is vital. If they were to set up more programs that teaches boom operators, guys, boom operators get paid big bucks. When you go to school for podcasting, essentially for audio design, they always tell you, look, if you don't want to have to press all the buttons, you can go get paid way the hell more if you want to just hold a stick in the air. It's the first thing my professor told us. And so I was like, okay, good to know. It's fat money, guys. So, but yeah, all those operators and stuff like that have very good unions. I think if we were to have a better trades program to really push for those, I think would help, because yes, they are paid better wages than they might be paid elsewhere, but you have skill and experience, and that cannot be replaced. And I think like the fact that Atlanta right now is dealing with Kansas City becoming the next Atlanta is a problem, because that means like, oh, you could just be replaced by somebody else that could hold that stick in the air. But over in LA, they know how to do it. They've been taught by the best, and they actually capture the sound better. Like there's all kinds of experience that comes with that. I think that becomes invaluable.
Man, that's such a good idea and a good concept. You're right. Because if you want to be the best and be trained in the best, like why don't you teach the next generation that you're going to need to also be the best? I think that's such a smart way to look at it. Not only that, we just saw a video about how Netflix and a bunch of other companies, I think production companies, are building out studios in New Jersey too. So, it's going to be interesting, especially like, I wonder if this fire has dispersed even more people from Hollywood. Like, I know it's made people move out of LA. There's like a bunch of like super wealthy, I don't know what they do, the producer, actor, whatever, that are buying up property in Newport, which is supposed to be like, which is in Orange County, California. Yeah. And it's probably like an hour and a half from where they need to be in LA, maybe even 2 hours with traffic or 3 hours with traffic. I don't know. But with how everybody's getting dispersed and with new studios popping up everywhere, like Hollywood and LA are going to need to do something really big to keep people going there and to keep studios filming there. So yeah, it's an interesting time. And I think the fire, like COVID was a crazy thing. Then the strikes were a crazy thing. Now these fires, more and more, I feel like people are going to have reasons to leave LA. So to your point of creating this program, they at least have to do something to keep people there.
Yeah. And also with that, keeping people in LA, it's important to remember that LA is very interesting. It's not like something you'd see in one shot. I don't think you could, like not unless you're in space. It's so big and spread out. And I think it's spreading even farther. You were talking about like, oh, don't worry about the woke stuff. Orange County, do not worry about the woke stuff. Like there's a little bit of everybody down there. It's not all what you guys would see on TV, maybe. And Orange County is definitely not that way. But like I know West Hollywood, which is very, liberal.
Progressive.
Very progressive. They're getting a lot of studios over there, and their studios tend to be the smaller indie dropouts there. A lot of the YouTube oriented studios are there. So I think also kind of spreading out and kind of sectoring off LA into these littler hubs that might be a little more tailored to what you want. Orange County, be the big buck guys. That's fine. They have the different tax system for them. I think there's something there too. I think that just adjusting to the new market will make LA attractive again to people. It's still, I mean, to say it's not attractive now is crazy. It's still very
Right.
vibrant, but
It
we're
is.
looking at like after these three big emergencies that happened, how do you make it more future proof and things like that? Things like better public transit and stuff like that could all better you for the future.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I love your idea of just having training programs. It's again, it seems
Yeah.
so exclusive. All these things. It's like I've driven past when Marvel Studios was still kind of in the Hollywood area, and I used to live near, was it Universal or Paramount, but like whatever one's in Culver City. So it's like I used to drive past that stuff all the time, but I couldn't even have fathomed getting a job there. Like, there's no way they would
Yeah.
hire me. And I'm not saying open the floodgates, but there has to be a way of attracting talent and keeping them there, and also like attracting new talent as well. There's so much competition. It's going to be interesting to see how it changes movies and shows going forward.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're going to be linking to a couple of things in the description, guys. So first off, we have the American Red Cross. We're going to link again, and America World Central Kitchen. I think I said that wrong. In the description, if you guys want to support LA during these wildfire recoveries. But we're also going to be putting in a link to Stay in LA, so you guys can read more about their efforts in creating a better future for LA. I think it's a very interesting petition going around. Some heavy hitters on that list, guys. So check that out. I think that's going to be pretty interesting. Next up, we're going to be touching quickly on a few things. Let's talk about Neil Gaiman's Gaiman. I always mess that up. His future. So first off, Anansi Boys series has been canceled by Dark Horse Comics. Dark Horse is one of the legends. And then the Sandman series on Netflix just got shorted and now is only getting one more season. There's a couple people that when you find out allegations about them, you're like, son of a bitch. Neil's one of them. It just sucks on every front for victims and for people who enjoy his work, because now forever it's like, Good Omens is such a good show, and now I can't watch it without feeling that guilt. What are your thoughts on this situation?
This news broke my heart, man. You know how much I loved Neil Gaiman's work, and the Sandman is one of those comic book experiences for me that was kind of life changing, and it only happened within the last few years. Where it was like during COVID, where I've always wanted to read it and never did. And then I got the books and the audio tape, and James McAvoy is the voice
so
of
good.
Morpheus. So good. I mean, like Kat Dennings in it, and like all these crazy actors are in the audio version of it. And I mean, the Sandman too, that story and everything like spoke to me. The conversation between Dream and his sister Death in the park in that episode, like it just really like touched me in this crazy emotional way. And so you're like, God, Neil Gaiman is this kooky, weird guy, and he creates this amazing work, and he's a comic book creator that's like elevated his art. And then you get this news, and you hear how predatory he was and how evil he kind of was to people, and you're just like, no, it was heartbreaking. And I've deep dove into comic book Reddit page, and all these people have like, this was my favorite book ever, and I don't feel like I can ever read it again. I think this is terrible. This sucks. This is that dark side to what you hear about Hollywood too, though. It's like,
of course.
this, and that's why it's such a conflicting thing. And one thing I've talked about since doing movie reviews with you and podcasting about it is like, can we divorce the art from the artist? Right? It's everything. Like Harvey Weinstein has produced some great movies too, and I like those movies, but he's a despicable piece of shit. So it's like, can I still enjoy the movie and not give him credit? You know what I mean? It's such a weird thing. And so I'm still conflicted about it in a lot of ways. Obviously, he's evil. I don't support him in any way. I think these shows should be canceled. But I'm also so sad that we're just getting one more season of The Sandman. I'm so sad that like Good Omens is now done. I'm so sad that like all these things, because there's other people who are not evil and bad that were a part of those shows that all of a sudden get their careers kind of shorted in some way because the person who created it was terrible. It's such a weird, I don't know. I'm so conflicted on it. Not him, but just on appreciating the work.
Yeah. And we talked with some of our friends off mic and stuff about this. And there is this big thing where it's like, there are so many people behind the camera that get paychecks from this that you want to still support them. I think acknowledging the taintedness of the project is a key thing. We had a whole discussion on this with Harry Potter coming up, the Harry Potter series and J.K. Rowling, and how it's tough to support Harry Potter and not support her. and she's getting money. Same thing with this. Like if you want to go buy a new Sandman copy, you're giving money to Neil. And speaking of that audio drama, we did a full review here on Geek Freaks, and I would say that diner scene is some of the best captured audio drama I've ever heard.
That diner scene is incredible. Yeah. It's like this just such powerful, insane storytelling. And maybe it's because he was insane in some ways, but it's just tough because I appreciated that work, and I appreciated the emotions it brought out of me and my thought process. But like now knowing how evil he was to women and all that stuff, just like I don't feel good about it anymore. It sucks. Yeah.
So that being said, with the Sandman coming up on Netflix, enjoy it. Understand, what you're enjoying. We won't be covering here on Geek Freaks, just to kind of, it's just what we're gonna do. And it's just a shame. It's such a shame. And I think keeping these guys accountable, canceling those Dark Horse comics. Dark Horse is a smaller company. They thrive on Neil's name, and having to cancel it's gonna hurt them. But they know that's what's to do right. And so check out our Dark Horse comics, guys, because they just did a good thing, and they have some really good stuff. Their old Star Wars stuff is fantastic. So check that out.
Yeah.
Touch on a few other things. We got, some new images. Go follow us on Threads and everything else. We're trying to get the blue sky up there, guys. I really don't know how that algorithm works, or even if it is one. But yeah, we got some new images from Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, showing Oscar Isaac as Dr. Frankenstein. That's going to be wild. Suicide Squad's getting a season 3. It's going to be the finale, and we know it's coming June 27th. So right around the corner.
Wait, Suicide Squad or Squid Game?
I said Suicide Squid Game, sorry.
Okay.
But if it's not for Squid Game, it's very much the end.
That's true.
And then we were talking about it before. You mentioned before how it's all about the directors now. Holy cow. Christopher Nolan has not pressed record on the Odyssey, his new project coming out in 2026. And I'm already like, please let me get my ticket. So I'm going to just throw some names. John Leguizamo, Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Zendaya, Lupita Nyong'o, Robert Pattinson, Charlize Theron, Benny Sadiq. I mean, John Bernthal. Yeah. Holy cow. What do you think about this, man? How is it like the best cast I've ever heard of? It's so nuts.
I mean, like all of his movies have these insane casts now, and he finds ways to make it work. And he's just like an artist for art's sake, right? Like obviously he's getting paid millions and yada, yada, but like the guy doesn't even have like modern technology. He still writes his scripts on a keyboard or on a typewriter. You know what I mean? Like he's got a flip phone. Yeah. So he just really appreciates the art. Yes. And the Odyssey, like if you're a fan of Greek or Roman mythology in any way, like you know this story. And then to have this cast and brought to modern day, like, and the way he uses natural light and everything, I can't even imagine what this is going to look like and feel like, but it's going to be the epic I think we all have wanted from this story.
They already confirmed they're going to be filming on location in Greece. Like I'm so excited to see that backdrop of the islands and stuff like that. It's going to feel like White Lotus. Natural light, great call out, dude. Like even the music's going to be fantastic. It always is. And it's crazy that nowadays you could tell me Brad Pitt. I wouldn't care about the actors. Tom Holland, that's getting me there. But
John Bernthal for me too. I'm like, dang.
For real, right? But Christopher Nolan's the reason I'm buying that ticket so fast. And it's amazing that now we're in a world where directors is Matt Shackman doing Fantastic Four. I keep talking about it every time I talk about Fantastic Four. It's like Matt Shackman's directing this. I'm so hyped about that.
Right. Like now with Denis, I mean, there's people who like Denis before Dune and everything, but like now you hear Denis Villeneuve, like it's like game on. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to show me a trailer. Like I already know I'm going to check it out. Like this. Yeah, this is insane.
Who's in Superman? I don't know. James Gunn's directing it.
yeah, right. Yeah, you're like Nathan Fillion. I know him just because I know him, but also because he has a bowl cut in it. But besides that, I don't know. I know Rachel Brosnahan from Marvelous Miss Maisel, but again, James Gunn is the draw for Superman. So we live in this amazing time where directors are almost more powerful than the superstars or the A-listers sometimes. And I think that's cool. Like they are the captain of the ship. So I want to see what the captains are bringing up. And as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to Christopher Nolan, he's never like steered the ship in a wrong place for me. I've always kind of enjoyed some part of his work. So I think, God, I can't even fathom what this movie's going to be like. We're going to break down the trailer, I'm sure, at some point, but it's I almost don't need to. I know I'm there day one.
Yeah, me too. By the way, keep bringing up John Accepted because why the hell not? We covered Christopher Nolan month, 2 years ago, a year ago? God, it's been a while now.
Yeah.
And we just
2 years
talk
ago.
about the heavy hitters. This is my first time watching Interstellar. I've already watched it a couple of times since then. It was so damn good.
It was your first.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. God,
Your first time watching The
man.
Prestige.
First time watching The Prestige. That's right. And it's probably one of my top 10 favorite movies now ever.
It's
ever.
so good.
It
Those
is
actors,
incredible. Yeah, and he wrote that script with his brother, and now what Christopher Nolan's brother is doing on his own with the Fallout series. It's like those guys are geniuses, especially when it comes to storytelling and filmmaking. This cast is like, of course, why wouldn't you want to be in a Christopher Nolan movie, especially the Odyssey?
Hey, I'll hold that boom mic for that set. All right, guys, bring me out to Greece.
I'll hold the boom mic for the boom guy. I'll hold his bag for the boom guy to be on that set. You'll bring him
some chips and some snacks.
yeah. Water. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. My professor, I think he said it was $400 a day, and that was like 4 years ago. $400 a day to be the boom operator, and it was like, damn, that's not bad pay.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Freediver is new today on digital. In the heart-pounding documentary, world champion freediver Alexei Molokov embarks on a daring quest to break 5 world records in a single year. On a single breath, he dives into the ocean's crushing depths where the smallest mistake could mean death. Witness the ultimate battle of endurance in one of the world's most dangerous sports. You can buy or rent Freediver now, rated PG from Paramount Pictures.
All right, we're going to be digging into Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And we talked about this already on the other show, but what was your initial reactions to this show, to the premiere?
I liked it. I'm learning that a lot of other people did it, but I actually really liked it.
I was kind of, because initially I got that same vibe where I was like, everybody liked it, but it's slowly turning to where people are like, it's all right. And that's kind of my opinion, is like, yeah, it's all right. I'm not hooked yet.
I've seen some way different. I've seen some people who just straight up are hating it now. And I don't know if it was because of what the actor said, and those comments have like
that's not helping.
Snowballed. But people just nitpicking a bunch of different things, like why are they gender swapping Dr. Connors? That doesn't really bother me. I don't really care. And then, or why is Norman Osborn kind of like his role model and not like, or why does he know he's Spider-Man already? It's really flipped really fast. And I don't know. When I was watching it was like, I like this cool multiverse stuff, and it felt like a kid's show to me. It felt like stuff my friends' sons would dig, who are like, 8 years old to 4. So for me, it was just like, this is a fun show. But I know we had different takes on it. What did you think about it?
Definitely not targeted for me. You're right. It's for the kids. But I will say that I think the Norman Osborn might have been the highlight. I think he was one of the, and yes, the actor for Spider-Man, his personal life, I don't care for him anymore. But I will say his performance as Spider-Man also was not good. Very flat. I felt like he had a confidence in him that I didn't care for. I just don't think he's a very good Spider-Man as a whole. And apparently he didn't even actually have to audition for the role. So I'm like, why is that? But
he was the voice on What If. So I guess, that got him way in. But you're right. Yeah. You're like, couldn't there be someone else that kind of sounds like Tom Holland?
Especially when I'm like, the video game Spider-Man is so damn good. He went from playing Spider-Man 1 and 2. He's the same one that's in Rivals. And it's like, he's the voice of Spider-Man for many of us, So
right. What is his name? Yuri Lowenthal or something like that? I might have got it completely wrong, but
I think you're right.
It's so interesting. It's so crazy that this is where I'm going with it, though. Yeah. In these days, like the outside political sphere and like outside dialogue affects so much of how people look at things sometimes too, that I kind of just miss. I'm like, why can't I just enjoy it just to enjoy it? And that's kind of how I went about it. But there's some other elements too that I know are kind of wonky. And I was listening to another podcast and I did appreciate this take because it made sense. I didn't run up against this problem, but after he said it, I was like, you know what? That is a good point, which is this. So in this show, Uncle Ben is already dead. So we still have Aunt May, which was fine in the MCU, but he's getting the powers before Uncle Ben is dead, and before he's getting the with great power comes responsibility conversation. Now we don't know when Uncle Ben died for Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the MCU. So we know that he could have got his powers and still had these impactful conversations with Uncle Ben. And then, Tony Stark shows up. So it is weird because Spider-Man's whole thing is like he gets these powers, he doesn't save Uncle Ben, and every single day he fights to make sure this never happens to anybody else. That they never feel like the pain of losing someone when they could have had the power to do it. And I was like, that's a good point. It just, yeah, now I'm thinking about that. What's compelling him to skip school or miss out on dates or do all these things other than like, I just want to save people. Now I will also juxtapose it where this is where it shows how conflicted I am. There's this scene where he captures this criminal, this lady, right? And she was like, I was just stealing because I lost my job and everything. And to me, that is a perfect example of how Spider-Man should be. Like, hey, she was doing wrong, but she was, she really needed it. And it doesn't excuse what she did, but can we forgive her and like excuse this, transgression or whatever, right? So I'm conflicted. There's parts of him where I think he's a good Spider-Man. There's other parts where I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't make sense for his character either.
If we lean in on that scene was very good. And also, that scene was very good, right? And I think that's the thing that separates him from so many other characters. Yeah, I mean, his abilities, stuff like that, but the fact that he's so centralized in New York and your friendly neighborhood part of it, and the little things like that makes him so relatable. That's the reason he was so big in the Sunday comics. I hope they lean towards that. And I think that could really make him a number one. But there are a few things where in the MCU, they killed off Aunt May on screen. And that was kind of our Uncle Ben moment for the audience. I could see them doing the same thing here. We're already mirroring a lot of the same shots from the MCU. So they might kill this Aunt May off, but you're right. It does mean, why is he going out there doing this? I talked about this before, but I think the social media aspect of this is going to be an interesting little play. Will there become a thing where he wants to become popular on social media, not for the sake of Spider-Man, but for the sake of Peter Parker and being like his new career option or something like that? He was a photographer for a while there. We're kind of, when it comes to Spider-Man, he could either be like full scientist or that photographer and eventually scientist. And it looks like we're going right to scientist. That's cool. I'm cool with that. That's happened a lot of times in the past and it's worked well. Video game version for sure. It's a little, I don't know. I'm just kind of lukewarm on this thing. And it's a little tough for me to find something I'm super excited for. Norman Osborn, I think I'm the most excited for, and how things with Harry will go. For now.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point because you're right. It's like, I'm not like a massive Spider-Man fan anyway, but he in some ways is the less appealing part. For me, it's the cast around him. It's Nico Minora. It's Amadeus Cho.
I was trying to remember that name so hard, dude.
Nico is awesome. Like such a cool character. I mean, back before I was fully like, out in public reading comics and everything, I was reading The Runaways. I love The Runaways. And she was a part of that team, and her power set's so cool. And having her as like the partner in this is kind of a sick, different change. I like the animation too. I know not everybody likes it. It didn't really bother me because to me it felt really Steve Ditko, and I like how they kind of slice up the screen into these panels. It feels very comic booky, and it's very bright. And I don't know. I don't know. Spider-Man is such a hard one because people have such strong stances on him as a character.
Yeah. By the way, since our last conversation, I've come across Teen Titans. I think it has some Teen Titans vibe with the how you're saying with the Steve Ditko paneling. I think some Teen Titans in there too, where they like this is a comic book character, and they're bringing that, and I do really appreciate that. I found that the frame rate and some of the heavy-handed outlining was a bit much for me. It was a little distracting. I think once you get used to it, it'll be fine. It's just a different animation style. I remember What If when it first came out too. The animation was a little bit jarring. It took some time to get used to. So that'll come with time, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And then we're still so early on in this show. It's funny how people are making some hard judgments out there. I'm like, bro, this is 2 episodes. Like, we got to see where this goes, Yeah,
I'm still watching it. There's no way I'm not going to watch it. It's just that the other thing too is I was so damn hyped about this. A new Spider-Man series, for the build, getting ready for Daredevil. So I'm like, just bring on the Marvel. And so that could have affected it too. Like the hype was dropped off.
See, Ed, if you have low expectations like me, never disappointed. You never. I was just like, it's going to be cool.
Flash.
I still think Flash is a great show. Have you watched it?
No, I got time for that.
Come on, dude. It's a good movie. It's actually a good movie. Man. The CGI is the CGI.
As soon as James Gunn got the job, I was like, I'm never watching a DCEU thing again. I'm done with it. Thank God.
I think I think there's merits to both of them. Like,
Yeah.
The main actors are some of the biggest issues here. But
wow, yeah,
right. If you just look at what we're getting, though, I'm stoked about it, and I'm stoked to see. We're getting more Charlie Cox. We're getting more Vincent D'Onofrio. We're gonna probably get some more characters that we never got in the MCU yet. Which again, I don't know if this is the best place to do it. Like Storm, spoiler for What If season 3, but like if you saw Storm with Mjolnir, it was sick, but also like why and how. Like there should have been an episode before that explaining her as a character. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just enjoying it. And again, I think about my son's kids when I watch the show, and it's like they needed. I think they really did need a new Spider-Man cartoon that you can just watch every week. Like we had Spider-Man the animated series, we had Batman the animated series, we had X-Men before it was 97, just the animated series, right? Like we grew up in this golden time of animation where Saturday mornings, like you had your favorite cereal, you're planted on the TV, and you were going to play with your friends, so you caught up on all your shows. And I don't know what kids have in like the superhero world anymore that's like this. So I'm just on board for it for like all my friends that have kids this age range,
Yeah, I think it's going to be targeted towards the tweens, like the young teenager level, because to me it feels like there's kind of that high school drama undertone, which I think is going to be favorable to them. Spider-Man's perfect for that. That's perfect. Same thing with like Miss Marvel. We're seeing Miss Marvel starting to embrace that too, which is a super underutilized character. Yeah, I think it's going to be good. I can't wait to watch more of it. We're going to be talking about it more on Challenge Accepted if you guys want to go and follow us over there in every episode. I currently am giving it a 7 out of 10. What are you doing out of 10?
I mean, that's kind of what I'm giving it too. So it's funny, like, like you're a soft 7, but for me, yeah, it's a 7, maybe 7.5, maybe 8 if I'm really, really generous. But it's just, it's okay. Like it just kind of hit my expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me know what you guys thought about it. 7. There we go. I will say when we created this before, you were higher than me, but now we're both at 7.
Yeah.
So.
Well, out of 5, I'm giving it a 4. You know what I mean? So like if I had to, but it's funny how we could describe it. And I think we're both right. And we could still have the same score, but just be on opposite ends of it. You know what I mean? Like it's it is one of those shows. I guess it is a little bit more divisive, but it's just, I don't know. I'm not thinking that hard about this one. It's not the Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's not Loki season 2. It's not WandaVision for me. It's just this cool little animated show.
Yeah. It's not sticking with me either. Like Loki, I'll sit there and think about that all week long until the next episode. Agatha all along, holy cow, that lived right free in my brain for so long. This one, I'm like, forgettable. Matter of fact, dozed off the first time I watched it. I had to rewatch the whole thing again. So that might be part of it too. That might be an underlying thing that might come up, but we're gonna follow up on this one. Yeah, I'm interested to see if this is gonna be the start of something new. I think it'll be fun. Yeah, they already greenlit it for 3 seasons, so it's with us. So.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'm curious to see what everybody, like including us and the internet's, has decided about this show and the last episode. That's gonna be pretty interesting.
Could redeem itself. Let's head over to the network news. So over on Challenge Accepted, we have John Williams month. We just put out the Catch Me If You Can episode. It was a lot of fun with Collateral Cinema and Collateral Gaming. Next up is Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. We're going to be talking about John Williams. I mean, boy, in Empire Strikes Back, how iconic is he in that? That's so perfect. Over for Geek Freaks interview, we just released the Alan Dunford interview. Our next one is going to be with Braxton Cosby, who has a plethora of books that he's released. He also has a publishing company where they have 60 authors publishing under their company. So we'll be talking with Braxton. That's coming out next week. Lore Master, there's going to be a new Lore Master this week. I am super behind on that one, and I apologize, but there will be a new one this week, I promise. And Fandom Portals just put out their Phantom of the Opera episode. Wonderful discussion about Phantom of the Opera. It was really cool to hear about the behind the scenes, the development of that show. They actually had to film some stuff in a live performance to get the actual audience reaction. It was really cool. Wow. And then I just spoke with Tyler, and they are working on new Who's Got Next Game podcast. Papa Tyler, who just had a baby, he's finally getting back in front of the mic. So expect those in the coming months. That'll be exciting. All right. What's your recommendations for the week, man?
Yeah, so let's see. Spider-Man, your friendly neighbor? No, just kidding. What have I been watching that really kind of struck me? Oh, this is an interesting one. This shows you how maybe artsy I can get sometimes with like movies and stuff. Let me start with this. It is A Different Man. The main actor is Sebastian Stan. It is a movie that is, I've just, since I've watched it, I have not stopped thinking about it. I don't know where this belongs on like which podcast I do, because it's not funny. There's a lot of like crazy-ish mental healthy things in it. And yeah, but it's just stuck in my brain. It's an A24 movie. It's called A Different Man. And it just like, it's a movie that I'm probably not going to stop thinking about all year. Probably should do a video about it. But yeah, it's pretty wild. And then the one last thing is a comic book called Knights versus Samurai. I didn't love it on the first issue, but after the 5th issue, I'm so on board with it. For all of the people who like Dave Dismalshin, or who like Polka Dot Man, or you liked, he was in Dune, he was in the Marvel, he was in the Ant-Man movies. He wrote this comic book for Image Comics called Knights versus Samurai, about knights sailing across the sea and ending up in this foreign land so that they can plunder it, take over it, so that he can then go back and see his wife. But he's captured by samurai. But it goes into mythical things too. There's dragons, there's forest witches, there's transforming demons and stuff. And it's been a pretty sick series. By the 5th issue, I was like, wow, this is an insane story. So yeah, check that out.
Don't you love it when like actors are good at writing stuff? Isn't that freaking cool?
yeah, definitely. You can tell like this is a Dave Dismalchin has got his like stink all over this book.
That's cool.
It's good.
That's like, who knew Adam Sandler would write such a comic book? But Holy Rollers, guys, by Adam Sandberg.
Andy Samberg.
Yeah. So freaking good, and it's his. Okay, so my recommendations for you guys right now. I'm going to tell you right now, guys, it's been difficult mental health time for the last few weeks for a lot of people. Bob's Burgers is my mental health baseline. So just keep Bob's Burgers going on in the background, guys. I'll just throw that out there. It keeps you strong.
Don't watch A Different Man. That will mess you up more, I think.
If you watch that, get ready to watch some Bob's Burgers and Tina dealing with boys' butts and stuff like that. It's great. And then on the comic book front, I want to suggest Radiant Black. I'm rereading him right now for a future interview. That'll be a little wink to the future, guys. But Radiant Black is super good from Image Comics as well. Part of the Massiverse. All the Massiverse is awesome, but Radiant Black, it just hits so check that out, guys. I think the first 4 compendiums are already out. The volume's already out. It's great.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you very much for hanging out with us this week, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.